I'd like to begin today by asking three questions. What does it mean to build partner capacity? How do we improve the quality of life for an indigenous people? How do we create a security environment that allows the United States to transition out of a country? Now think about our experience in Iraq and Afghanistan. According to the Congressional Budget Office, we spent $9 billion trying to answer those questions. Now $9 billion is a lot of money, and it's kind of hard to conceptualize. To put it into perspective, $9 billion is more than the total revenue generated by federal income tax withholdings for the state of New Hampshire, or New Mexico, or 10 other states. So what did we get with this $9 billion? More importantly, what did Iraq get? This $9 billion was not spent on tanks or planes or any long-term, high-end projects. These were all small, short-duration projects, water purification, generators, a little bit of training. It was really $9 billion worth of Band-Aids. I propose that instead of buying $9 billion worth of Band-Aids, we should look at what the real problem is and try and spend $9 billion on creating a solution. And I think that solution is investing in the human capital that exists in that region and in every region around the world. If we focus more on training and mentoring people at all levels, the local population can develop their own solutions. They can come up with the right answers because they're going to know their area better than we ever will. And I'm not just going to say that that $9 billion was wasted, because it wasn't. A lot of that money did have a very good positive effect. But if you look at the news today, it's very hard to argue that Iraq is a better place. So what can we do? How do we change this? Instead of delivering a product, handing over an answer, we ask the questions and we focus on the people. And I came to this conclusion based on my experience as an Army officer deployed to Ramadi, Iraq in 2007. So my first experience, my first non-combat mission, was talking to a village elder in a little village just north of the Euphrates River. Now this village was out in the middle of the desert, and when I say desert, I don't mean sand, because sand is like the beach, and it wasn't a beach. Everything was covered with several inches of dust, the consistency of which is similar to powdered sugar or flour. Every time you stepped, dust would just get kicked up, and everything was coated with it. So as I sat in a dimly lit, dusty room talking to this village elder, I asked him the age-old question, what can I do to help you? How can I make things better? And he said simple, we need running water. Okay, running water, easy enough. How did you get your water before I showed up? He told me there's a pump house with a pump that drew water from the river up into the homes. Unfortunately, the pump was not operating anymore. So I walked with this village elder out to the pump house, and as I looked around, I expected to find a hulking, rusty mess. But as light spread through that small pump house, what I saw was a state-of-the-art water pump. And I was completely amazed. It sat there lifeless, pristine, blue. Why wasn't it working? So I asked him, what's wrong with the pump? And he said, a little over a year ago, another Army unit had been here and helped him get this water pump. They helped him install it and it worked for a while. But then it broke down. And they really couldn't get the parts to repair this water pump. So I asked him, who works on your water pump? Who keeps this water pump maintained? You know, he stretched one gnarled finger and he pointed to the closest house. And he said, local mechanic worked on the water pump. The local mechanic wasn't trained on how to maintain this water pump. And what's more, he couldn't get parts to repair the water pump. And this is when I realized that, yes, I can fix it. I can get water back into that village. But what's going to happen in another 6, 12, 18 months? A younger version of me will be sitting down with that same village elder talking about the same problem. Except that's really not the problem. That's just another symptom. One of the real problems, that village wasn't connected to the central government. They didn't trust the government in Baghdad. There were no mechanisms to make sure that that village always had running water. We were that mechanism. And if we're the mechanism, how are we ever going to be able to leave? So I did. I helped get the water pump fixed. He was very, very happy, and the people had a better life. A few months later, I had another experience. I met with a local police chief. Once again, I asked him, what can I do for you? How can I help you be more effective? You are key to the security of this area. And he said, it's simple. I need trucks. It struck me as a little bit odd, but he explained, I have such a wide area to cover that I need trucks to be able to get around. I have checkpoints, but I can't check on my checkpoints because I can't get out to them. So I went back and I talked to my boss and we discussed some options, and we came up with the solution that we could get him some military trucks. Diesel powered, the same trucks that the Iraqi army uses. We proposed that solution to him. And he came back to me and he said, this is not acceptable. This isn't going to work. I really didn't understand why. He said, please, just buy me a F-150, buy me a Ford or a Chevy. Just get me a truck. I explained that that wasn't possible. We went ahead and took the steps. We procured 2 military trucks. I learned from my water pump experience, and I made sure to train his mechanics on how to maintain the trucks. And he called me less than a day later complaining about them. He told me, these trucks are not going to work. These are no good to me. Give me something else. And I explained to him, this is it. This is what you have. You have to make it work. About a week went by, and he called me up again, and he said, please come out. I want to show you something. I have fixed the truck. So I go out to the police station, and I walk out to the motor pool where his trucks were located, and he's like, look at how I fixed this truck. And I want to take an opportunity to explain how one of these trucks works without getting too technical. For a diesel-powered military truck, it's not started with a traditional key. There's a little switch where the driver sits. And to start the truck, you flip the switch to the first position, and a little light will illuminate, telling you to wait. When that light goes off, you can flick the switch to the second position and start the truck. We taught all the local Iraqi police how to go through this procedure, but it wasn't convenient for them because you had to wait 10 to 15 seconds sometimes for this truck to be ready to be started. So as I walked out to this truck, he walked over to the driver's side, opened the door, reached in, grabbed the switch, and cranked it all the way over. And the engine was just firing and firing and firing. And you could smell the smoke, you could smell it burning, because he was burning up the ignition system in this truck. I pushed him out of the way, I reached in, I turned it off, and I was like, "What are you doing? What have you done?" And he opened up the hood, and he'd completely rewired the engine. To fix it, we had to replace the entire engine. Very expensive, very costly. And I asked him, "Why would you do that?" And he said, "Because this is not what we wanted. I want a truck with a key that I turn and it starts and I drive off. I don't want this." And I thought to myself, well, this seems pretty petty. It's 10 to 15 seconds that you have to wait. I gave you a truck. You should be pleased. And he goes, "But you know, that's not even the real issue. You know who uses these trucks? The Iraqi army uses these trucks. I'm not Iraqi army. I am police. I am from this village. My police are from this village. But that's not how they look at us. They look at us like we're the army." And that's when I started to realize that when they drove around in these military trucks, they were sending out a message to the local population that they were the Iraqi army, that they were outsiders. And it made their job a lot harder. So once again, instead of listening to them, instead of helping them come up with their own solution, I just provided them a piece of equipment because I thought it was going to work. But I was wrong. My last experience that I'll talk about today was with another village, different village elder, similar conversation to the first. I asked him how I could improve his life, how I could help this village, and he explained that a local school had been damaged in all the fighting and they needed a new school. I helped set up the contract and we got a school built. It's fairly rudimentary, but we got it built. And for the rest of the time that I was in Iraq, it sat there empty, unused. And I found out that not only did they not have enough teachers, not only did they have no way to pay those teachers, but the parents didn't feel secure enough to send their children to school in the first place. So once again, I was addressing a symptom instead of the real problem. Once again, you had a village that wasn't connected to the central government, didn't trust the central government. Instead of helping form the mechanisms that could always take care of this village, I was just building a school. Instead of ensuring that the Ministry of Education knew how many teachers lived in that village and had a way to pay those teachers, I just built a school. And I assumed that just because no one was shooting at me, that meant everyone felt safe. Safe enough to send their children out across the village, away from where they could protect them. And what did I do? I just built a school. So I ask you again, how do we create these conditions where we can transition from being in charge, transition back to that local government? How can we invest in the human capital that exists in these areas? I think we do that by educating. I think we do that by mentoring. And I think we do that by forcing them to use their systems to develop their own solutions. Because you can't always buy a new toy and expect it to fix the problem. Thank you.